Real Talk with Grace Redman features conversations with fierce and fabulous people from Grace's community and circle who inspire others with their stories of overcoming challenges to create amazing. Grace is an entrepreneur and success coach who works with individuals to diminish their negative mental chatter, boost their confidence, achieve their goals, and increase their prosperity mindset. Get ready for a series of anything goes conversations with remarkable men and women that will get you jazzed for life's unlimited possibilities of success, freedom, and fun. Welcome to Real Talk with Grace Redman.
Hey loves, it's Grace Redman. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Real Talk, where I have the privilege of connecting and having real life, raw conversations with incredible people from my community who have overcome challenges and created amazing. Today, I'm so excited to be here with Fadi Shamieh. Fadi is an entrepreneur who takes tremendous pride about being born and raised right here in the San Francisco Bay Area. Fadi has been a driven go-getter from the time he was a child. He started working in his uncle's grocery store at the age of 12. Since then, he's always owned his own businesses. He's an entrepreneur who has a passion for constantly learning new things and finding ways to better himself and his family. He's a proud dad to an 11-year-old princess and a 10-year-old rambunctious little man, and has been married to his beautiful, selfless queen, Tina, for 16 years. Currently, Fadi's in the real estate space. Fadi assists clients in buying and selling their properties, and he flips and develops homes. Fadi also owns a cafe with his brother. Welcome, Fadi.
Thank you. Thanks, Grace. I love that introduction.
Yeah, it's so exciting to be here with you. Should I tell the audience that I used to babysit you?
Yeah, go ahead. We go way back.
Yeah, we go way back. I can't believe it. Now you've just grown into an incredible, wonderful man, and I'm just so proud of you.
Appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So yeah, I reached out because I know during COVID, I was paying attention to what you were doing, and I noticed that you did a pretty, impactful pivot during that
Yeah,
time.
yeah. So
And and
as you
that's
said, a lot of
like,
businesses closed down during COVID, it shut down, and we were in the food industry for the last 15 or so years,
Mhm.
and we had to shut down for good 3, 4, 5 months until we knew what was going on. And the same time, I was starting my real estate business, which is fairly new to me at the time. So I took a pivot, as you mentioned earlier, and I jumped right in. I started investing in real estate on my own, buying rental properties, and then getting into the flip world and flip market. And then just I had to take a chance. I jumped into something, and I had to take a chance because I wasn't sure where the food industry was headed. So
sure.
that's why I leaped in head first, and here I am.
Yeah. And so now, did you start doing the real estate before COVID? You're just dabbling in it?
Yeah, I started it before COVID, but I wasn't as serious. It was kind of more like a side hustle, if you will, kind
Mhm.
of work the cafe business every day, make sure that's running well. It's a well-oiled machine, and on the weekends when we're closed, kind of just do the real estate part time, help a client here and there, once a month, maybe once every couple of months, just to keep the revenue stream going. But once the main revenue stream was shut down, then I had to really dive more into it and take it head on and full time. And it's been doing well. It's been catching on and get a lot of client base. Reach out to my community, just like you and I, and just see who's in the market and go from there. And it's been doing well. It's been
Yeah.
doing really well.
And that's what I love. I love seeing that because the same thing happened to me. I've had the staffing firm for
Yeah,
22 years, and then, COVID happened. I was like, wow, it just came to a quiet. And I had also been doing coaching, like you said, limited. And
yeah,
then when we went into the pandemic, I said, okay, now I'm going to pivot
yeah.
and focus, fully on the coaching business because the staffing was quiet. Everything, like you said, the business is
Right,
closed.
right.
And I mean, it wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't easy. It was. I was actually a little worried. I know enough about real estate. My family's been in it for a long time. We've been in it since we were little, but I didn't really know the nitty gritty
Mhm.
behind the scenes, transactional aspect of real estate. I just knew how to run a property, how to manage it, collect rent, things like that. getting to the transactional, reading contracts, making people feel comfortable about buying a home, and really not getting them into any hot water, any danger, is where I really, took it by the horns, if you will, and really dove into it and understood it,
Mhm.
and was, as time went on, got more comfortable. And COVID was actually, for me, being a part-time agent, it was actually busier, and I made more money being a part-time agent during COVID than I would have in my business, in my real cafe business. So it actually turned out in my favor.
Isn't that
COVID.
incredible? Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, it
So,
really.
and I can relate because if it wasn't for COVID, I would never have started this podcast.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
if it wasn't for COVID, I wouldn't have established so much more in my coaching business.
Yeah. And
Um,
the main reason really I got into real estate was because I was doing the flipping before I got my real estate license. And I said to myself, why am I paying all these agents these commissions when one of us could have a license and save on those commissions, and increase our bottom line? And
exactly.
that's why I got it. So I got it to list our own listing, our own homes, and save on that commission. But when we shut down our business, I had to pivot again into more of helping other people rather than just helping me and my team.
Yes.
Yeah.
And isn't it amazing how God, the universe, has a different plan? For, like we have a plan, like I had a plan,
Yeah.
like, I'm going to do this for another, 5 years and then
Yep.
transition. But the universe, like, yeah, no, Grace,
Yeah.
it's time is now. And I'm
Yeah.
like, holy, what
Yeah. So
now?
a little fact that not a lot of people know was I actually was studying to get into law school
Wow.
before real estate. So my dad's an attorney, as you know, and I was gonna jump into that business, but with my lifestyle now and being a little older and having kids, and a whole different life than being in college 15, 16 years ago,
Yeah.
I thought maybe I could jump back into it again and go into law and take over my dad's business, but that didn't work as planned, so I had to make another pivot into real estate. So
And
a
so
lot of pivots going on.
for sure. And so for me, if you could relate, like even though I knew everything was going to be okay, there was like there was a fear, like because there's the uncertainty,
Sure.
and the way that I got through it was I said, you know what, I've been through worse. God always carries me, and
Yeah.
so I just surrendered.
Yeah.
How did you feel any fear during that time? And if so, like how'd you get through it?
Um, I felt fear because our business was shut down. I didn't have an income coming in. I mean, I had reserves of my own, but no steady income from the business. Real estate, I didn't have much of a network or a sphere of influence is what they call it, to reach out to and say, hey, I'm in real estate now. Um, are you looking to buy or sell? And there were people that were saying, hey, I already have an agent. So I was worried about that because there was no money coming in to support the family. So it was worrisome. Real estate is not a steady income business. You have to really take it every single day, full time, day in and day out. And I wasn't doing that. So I did have that fear of not succeeding and not being able to provide for my family.
And then how did you overcome that fear? Because I've seen you be very successful.
Yeah, I just, I put my nose to the grindstone. I pounded the pavement. I started, knocking on doors in my neighborhood. I started, getting lead generation programs and services from my office, from my brokerage, and just developing relationships with cold calling people and saying, hey, this is who I am, this is what I do, I'm a local agent in your area. And it started to catch on. People were like, hey, I am in the market, or I'm not in the market now, but when I am, I'll reach out to you. And they actually would reach out to me.
Mhm.
And it's just started, happening little by little, and then it snowballed into getting referrals and people saying, hey, I've worked with this agent, reach out to him, he's great. And it's now I have a solid client base. I have a solid network. I can reach out to people that I haven't heard from in a while, that are starting to get ready, and are starting to look and write offers, which is good. It takes a lot of stress off of the unknown and being new. I've been in it for 4 or 5 years now, so I'm not as new as most people are, but I'm not as seasoned either.
Sure.
But I do have a good client base. I am closing deals, and it's working out.
Well, you know, I'm going to kind of talk about the building the relationships.
Yeah.
And anytime we go into a sales type of role, like real estate is sales, or staffing was sales,
Mhm.
and it's all about building the relationships and making those contacts.
Sure.
And then once it's like you said, it's a momentum. Like once you get out there and you work it every day, it just starts to the energy you put out, it comes back in.
Yeah, it's like a sport. You know, you practice every day. The more practice you put in, the better you're gonna be. And
Exactly.
that's just it. It's practicing on how to talk to people,
Mhm.
what to say. You
Mhm.
know, the lingo, learning the lingo, learning how to give people space, and it all starts to flow. It all starts to become natural over time.
Absolutely. Especially when you're committed to it, which you are, you're consistent in the action you take, which you are, and you're intentional, which you are.
Yeah, yeah. Consistency is a key. Your consistency in any kind of business, no matter what you do, is number one. It's paramount. If you're not consistent, you're not going to succeed.
100%. And I remember when I first started staffing, it was so stressful because of the numbers and the sales. And then I said, you know what, I need to stop. I need to run my own race.
Yeah,
And if I'm just focused on building the relationships and I show up every day and I'm consistent, it's going to happen. And, and that's how I look at things. I don't look at it anymore as sales. I look
yeah.
at okay, relationship building
Yeah.
and helping people with their
That,
careers. And
that's really what real estate 101 is. They the sale comes later. You got that's a cherry on top. You have to develop the relationship, become really friends with your clients. You know, go out to lunch, go out to dinner, know their families, know what they're all about, and kind of peel back the onion on them. And then if you get a sale at the end of the day, great. If not,
yes,
it's okay. You have a relationship. You have a new friendship with somebody.
100%, 100%. And when you're building those relations, like you see, when you're building those relationships, just out of intention and sincerity, the business comes. I
Yeah.
think for me, the business is the byproduct of building the relationships.
Exactly. At first, it was hard for me to realize that. I was like, I got to get the sale. I got to get the sale. I got to get that commission check. That's all I was focused on was that because I didn't have any money coming in. I was freaking out. Like, what the hell am I going to do? But my broker, we had to sit down. And he was like, dude, relax,
Yep,
chill out, be yourself, and things will happen.
that's it.
And it did. It's
Yeah,
working out.
and they always say scared money scares money. If
Yeah.
I'm going into it scared. So tell me, like, what gives you the passion and drive? I mean, since you were a little kid, you started working in the grocery store at 12. Where'd that grit come from?
I think it was just from my upbringing. My dad has always been, a workaholic. He's never taken much of vacations as when we were younger. He did, we were, teenage years, but he was never home. He was never working. He was never, never went to any of my baseball games, never went to any of my sports, was never around. And I always wondered why. What's the deal? What are you doing? Why aren't you around? And he said, I'm building the foundation for you and for your brother. So I learned from him. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. I learned from her just from taking care of the house, and being a mom is one of the hardest jobs in the world, as you know.
And you have an incredible mom. She's even like a mom to me.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, she's great. She loves you. She always
Oh,
talks highly of you.
she's such a support for me. Thank
Yeah,
you.
she's great. She's super nice. She's like I call her Mother Teresa sometimes because she's the sweetest woman on earth. And
Yes.
I know I'm being biased because that's my mom, but I'm sure everyone says that about their mom. But I hear it a lot all over the community about her. She's great, and
Yes.
she really pushed us in that sense. But my dad was he was I would look at and to this day he's a 6 day a week guy. He only takes one day off,
That's
even
the
though his business is a 5 day a week. He's there 6 days, all day in and day out, and he's nearing 70, and I have no signs of slowing down.
damn.
I
He's
know
amazing.
it's insane. He's like a machine.
I know. And he still looks 50.
Yeah, and he still looks young and he looks fit, and he doesn't no signs of retiring. And that's kind of I think it's in the blood. I really do. My whole family's like that. My uncle's like that. My brothers like that. We grind, and we're never we're satisfied, but it's never enough.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know, we always
Well,
want.
but there's nothing wrong with that because when I feel like we're satisfied and grateful and
Yeah,
always striving for more. Because
yeah,
if we're not striving for more, then it's like as human beings, we want to grow and expand, and our growth and expansion comes from, wanting more.
yeah. And I don't like to settle for mediocrity. I'm not okay with that. Mediocrity is my it's a low baseline for me. I like to be above that.
So again, so what inspired you to just like always go for the top?
It's just more competing with myself,
Hmm.
more of like, how well can I do. I never was competing against anyone else. I never was jealous. Like, this guy's doing better than I am. He's more successful than I am. He's got a bigger house than I do. I was just pushing myself, and eh, now that I have kids, I want to show them what my dad was showing me, that the harder you work, the more dividends it'll pay off in the end. And I just push, push, push. Being in the Bay Area, it's hard to live here. It's very expensive, and that's another motivation for me, is to be able to live a little easier for my
Hmm.
kids, so they
Hmm.
can live a little easier. Because my grandfather, when he came here, he wanted to work hard so his kids didn't work as hard, and my dad wanted to work hard so his kids didn't work hard, and same goes for me and my kids. So that's really the reason why I'm pushing myself, is because so they have it a little easier than we did.
Hmm. I can relate. I can relate because then I also see like how hard, my grandparents worked, and then my parents, and then it made it a little bit easier for us. And then now I want to make it easier, for my kids, not because of laziness, but just like build a foundation for
Yeah,
them that they can spring off of. And I think each generation does that.
yeah, and it's
And
only going to get harder for them as we go on. So if we lay the foundation so they have a little bit of comfort, knowing that if something doesn't go wrong, they have something to fall back on, but
right.
still they have to we plant the seed for them, they need to make it grow.
Exactly. So that's the thing. It's about planting the seeds, just like our grandparents, our parents planted the
Mhm.
seeds. We're doing the same thing. And also, I'm teaching my boys like mindset, like to
Yeah,
have an abundance mindset, and to know, like, abundance is energy,
yeah.
that they deserve it. They don't, of course, we're going to work, we take action.
Mhm.
But I'm like, I felt like I had to bust my ass to
Yeah,
deserve or earn anything.
yeah,
And
sure.
yes, you have to take action, but they already deserve it. They don't have to
Oh,
prove
of
themselves.
course. But still, I don't want to make it seem to them that they can get whatever they want, because
For sure.
in essence, our kids can get whatever they want because we have provided for them, that for them. But I don't want to show them that, because, like you said, it'll be create laziness and silver
Right.
platter, and they're no, they're entitled. I don't want my kids to feel entitled
To-
at all.
Totally. And again, it's about like I let them know it's like they can create whatever life they want
Mhm.
with that, like you said, the commitment, the consistency, and the action.
Yes.
They can, the world is their oyster.
Yep. Right.
You just
And
have
for
to
me,
take that
it took me
action.
a long time to get my mindset correct, because naturally I procrastinated a little bit. I pushed things off a little bit.
We're all
You know,
human.
yeah, a lot of people do that. You start to lose motivation. You start to, get lazy and down on yourself. Like, this is not working out. What am I doing? But you got to just stay strong, mentally strong, and keep that mindset going. And my kids are young. They're 11 and 10, but and my son, who's a 10-year-old, he his mindset isn't where I needed to be at 10. So I'm trying to show him how I think and how I work and how I'm wired, and I'm trying to get him to wire like me. It's a struggle. He's 10 years old, not even 10, he's almost 10. It's a struggle, but trying to show by action, lead by example.
Exactly. And when my kids were young as well, like same thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I doing the right thing? And they're not listening. But let me tell you, they are paying attention to what we do, not what we say. And so then as they grew and they started to build their own habits, I noticed their habits were similar to our habits.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
all of them were good, but it's okay. So they're
No, yeah.
example, 100%.
Yeah. For sure.
So when because we all go through that, like you said, sometimes our mindset's not where it's supposed to be. That's human. So when you get to that point where you feel your mindset kind of shifting to the lack or shifting, feeling down, like
Mhm.
what is one thing that you do to help yourself get back to?
I really just tell myself things will work out. I kind of just talk to myself a lot. I know, I realized that works for me.
Yep.
Talking to myself works for me. It may seem weird, but I really talk out loud to myself. I,
That's not weird at all.
some people may think it is, but
Oh,
I mean, that's great that you're saying it's not. But
it's not. And
I
I'll tell you
like,
a secret.
I'm in my car sometimes, and I'm literally having a conversation with myself.
Which, because so this is what I teach in coaching, because we have a conversation in the head, that voice is always there.
Yeah.
And so what I teach is, okay, now what would you tell that, because usually this is the little girl or little boy in us. Like, what would you tell the little girl or little boy? So really what you're doing is a tool.
Yeah. Yeah. And
You're
it,
helping
it, it
train.
works. It works. Sometimes it doesn't, but most of the time it does. And I don't expect it to work 100% of the time,
Of course.
because we'd be perfect, and we're not.
Yeah, because if we're perfect, we'd be dead.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't
And,
want to die.
and I'd be a gazillionaire too. So
Yeah, I'd be like, I don't want to die. I'm not perfect. None of us, we're perfectly flawed.
yeah, right. We're
And,
perfect in our own way. We're perfect in a way that works for us.
exactly.
Yeah.
And we all make mistakes because
Yeah.
that's how we learn. So what would you say has been one of your, there's no failure, it's only feedback. But what would you say has been one of your failures, and what did you learn from it?
In the real estate world, or as
Whatever
in
you'd like to share.
uh let's see. In my failures in my real estate world, I I didn't one time cross my I's or T's and dot my I's on a transaction, and it cost me the transaction. It actually cost me the client too.
Hmm.
It was a mistake that I took for granted, that I thought wasn't going to be a mistake, and it was going to be something that I can kind of slide under the radar. It was caught by not only my clients, but it was caught by the listing agent, and it I didn't follow what I was supposed to follow, and that was my biggest failure, really. And it's not necessarily a mindset failure or something that happened within myself. It was more of a transactional thing that I didn't do, and it was a big one. It was over a $2 million deal,
Oh.
and that's a good commission check, and I lost out on that, and I lost out on the client because the client wasn't confident enough in me to represent them as their agent to get them the best deal. I was more focused on the deal than I was on my client,
Mm.
and that was my biggest failure. And I learned that the hard way. That client ended up buying something way more than what they were going to buy with me with somebody else, and I wasn't concerned more at the end of the day about the commission check. I was more concerned about losing that relationship,
Mhm.
losing that, that possible referral, and losing the knowledge, or not, and I gained the knowledge that I should have had before. So I won and I lost at the same time. I won. When I say win, was I learned, like you said, it was a learning experience, and I won the knowledge of what not to do. I
Exactly.
lost by losing the client.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so now, exactly. So that's why if there's no failure, it's only feedback, because
Yeah.
you learned, this incredible lesson for
Yeah.
next time. And then most likely you're going to have like this huge deal on the table, and you'll cover, you'll hear everything, dot your I's, cross your T's.
Yeah. I don't
Like,
consider them losses. I consider them learning experiences. And I tell my kids that too when they lose a game or something like that, or they get a bad grade on an assignment. They don't lose. We don't ever lose. We're not losers.
no,
We're winners, and we just learn from what happened.
absolutely. It's like our failures, mistakes are always learning opportunities.
Yeah.
I wish I learned that sooner. I only learned that like when I went back to school 6 years ago, get coach certified. And I was like, my God,
Right.
why? Because
Yeah.
I was taught never fail, never make a mistake. And so I was, messed up
Yeah. Me
because
too.
I had fear of like making
Yeah.
a mistake.
Yeah.
And then now I realize like, okay, this is how we learn. Like the baby doesn't come out of the mother's womb like learning how to run.
Right. Right. And my son, I'm more hard on him in his sports than my daughter, because naturally he's just a little bit more athletic than she is, and he had that fear of always losing and not doing well, and when he would lose a game he would start crying, and I'm like, no, you didn't lose anything. It's a learning experience of what to do better next time. And like I said, he's 9, he's learning, he's figuring that out, so I think he's going to do better next time
Of
he
course,
loses a game. But
of course,
I just try to pay it forward as much as I can.
for sure. And that's ultimately that's what this is all about, is paying it forward.
Yeah, for sure.
So if there was one thing that you wish you had known when you first started your career that you know now, what would that be?
um I mean, that's a loaded question. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I could have learned. But what the most important thing that I learned that I really I use more than anything is not to be a bugaboo, not to be someone who's really bothering their client. Because at first I was calling every day, calling, texting, calling, no response, no response. I'm like, what the fuck? What the hell's going on here? Why isn't anyone responding to me? What am I doing?
Because
And my
you're a bugaboo.
yeah, exactly. My broker's like, you're bothering them, dude. Leave them alone. When they want to call you, they'll call you. So that's a big thing in real estate, honestly. And it may not seem like a big thing in other people's
No,
career
it's
businesses,
interesting.
but it is. They'll when they're ready, they'll call.
That's right.
If you give them the service you're providing them at the jump, and your first impression in the jump was great, and they latched onto that, then just wait. Just
Yeah.
it all come. It's not like I said. It's not about the sale right away. It's about building a relationship, and the sale will come later.
Right.
That's a big thing in this business, and
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way. I was not getting any calls from people, not getting any response. I'm like, what's going on? And so I ended up, kicking back, slowing it down a little bit, giving them time and their space, and eventually they started coming back when they wanted to come back, and it worked.
Yeah, exactly. Which brings me to the subject of like resistance. Like when we're in resistance and we're trying to control something, it's like we're really blocking it from coming to us.
Yeah.
So then we're like, okay, like you said, I'm gonna relax, I'm gonna just,
Mhm.
chill, and I know it's gonna work out. Then it starts coming.
It does. It really does. I hadn't talked to this one client. This one client I was calling literally week after week, week after week, and nothing, nothing, nothing. I After I had to talk to my broker to relax and stop, I did. And a year later, he ended up calling me back.
Mhm.
He's saying, "Hey, you were really persistent. You called me all the time. You texted me all the time. You emailed me. You sent me newsletters. I love the persistence. I just didn't respond because I wasn't ready. And I
Mhm.
remembered how persistent you were. When I was ready, I called you,
Yeah,
and we ended up making a deal.
there you go.
So it paid off,
Right.
and I
And
learned.
all exactly. And also energy. We're gonna attract the
Mhm.
energy that we are in.
Yeah, yeah,
So, you're being committed and consistent and intentional. And
yeah,
so that also brought this guy back, who's probably ended up being a great client.
yeah. He was. He was. We ended up making a deal for him. He was very happy. He gave me a great review. He would told me if there's anyone he knows that needs an agent, they refer them to me. So it ended up working out after not hearing from him for a whole year.
And also because you're more relaxed,
Yeah, now, yeah, for sure. Now I'm just like, oh, whatever. I'll hear from him when he's ready.
right? And then that's when it starts coming.
Yep.
So what advice would you give someone who wants to take a risk, wants to pivot, has been doing the same thing for a long time, and just is scared? Because it's scary for
Yeah,
people to take that risk.
sure. Have a good size reserve in your bank account because
That's
it may not may not bear the fruits of your labor right away. So you're gonna have to have something to fall back on. So you're gonna have to just chill, have a reserve. Be consistent. That's the most important thing. I tell that to everybody. Even when I own my businesses, all the other businesses that I've ever owned, I always told my employees consistency is what's going to make us successful. And, and hard work, dedication, just know, have that mindset that things will be okay if you just put the time in.
right.
If you put the time in, you'll get the rewards back. If you don't put the time in, you're not going to get anything back.
Well, like it goes back, like I said, the action, and
Yeah,
it does take time.
yeah, it
And
really
so,
does.
I mean, life can be stressful and hectic. You have family and businesses, and we're going, like, the last year and a half has been insane for everyone. What have you done to help yourself stay grounded and stay productive? Because it's been hard to be productive some days.
Yeah, with open houses being shut down and us not being able to show homes, we were able to do virtual tours online. So I still was able to meet like with my clients, like how we're doing now on a Zoom, have a consultation over the computer, and do a virtual tour of the home. So production, it didn't really slow down as much, oddly enough, in COVID for real estate. It was actually my busiest year
I've
during.
heard that.
It was. Although it was only my second year and it's still technically you're still new, I did sell homes my first year, but my second year in COVID, I sold triple the amount of homes I did in my first year.
That's incredible. I've actually heard that in for the real estate market that they've been
Yeah,
very
it's
busy.
true because the way they kept the economy going was to lower interest rates, and interest rates helped keep the market, the real estate market, afloat because people were taking advantage of their super low rates that were nearly under 1%, 2% at one time.
That's insane.
So people took advantage, and a lot of people came out and were like, since we're working from home, I need more space. I need a Zoom room. I need more space for my kids to, play. So, and with the interest rates being low, it ended up being a great year. So that was a good motivator and a good, push for us to do well.
And it's also a great example how even when we're going through challenging times, there's also always opportunity to be had somewhere.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate that it hurt a lot of people,
Yeah.
but for us, for me and my family, it actually did well for us,
Well,
surprisingly.
also it's a mindset and it's a pivot. Like we have a choice. Like we could have taken the choice of why me? Why is this happening to me? And gotten depressed.
Yeah.
But we chose to be like, okay, this is happening. It's out
Yeah.
of our control. What now? Let's
Yep.
do this.
Yep. Yeah, let's take it
So
by the horns and just see where it leads, see where it goes.
that's it. Because we can't control the things outside of us, but we can control what's going on here and here.
Right. Right.
Which brings me again, like life can be so stressful. What are some things you do for yourself to stay grounded and sane?
Um, I want to say I do yoga. I want to say I read a lot of books, but I don't.
And you don't have to.
I just I talk to my wife a lot. She keeps me grounded. She tells me, just stay working hard. Results will come. I do a lot of talking to a lot of different people, a lot of family members, a lot of colleagues who have gone through 2008 when the market crash happened. How did they stay afloat? How did they work it out? And I just get a lot of advice from people and different mindsets. I do a lot of going on Instagram and seeing these real estate people and learning from them and how they deal with these kind of situations. There's no real formula that I had. I kind of just took it day by day, honestly. I wish I had something better to tell you and more enlightening to give to your viewers, but there's no there was no secret potion or secret sauce.
That is a secret. And I'll tell you why. I'm actually teaching a class about how to go from fear to freedom.
Mhm.
And the number one thing is community, finding people to talk to,
Yeah,
finding people to, bounce things off of.
yeah,
So that is really part of a secret formula because a lot of people make an effort to do everything themselves. They don't like to share or reach out for help.
yeah.
So you tap into your community, into your support group.
Yeah, I was never that type to reach out to anyone. Growing up and being in my entrepreneurial career, buying and selling businesses and owning businesses, I never really spoke to a lot of people. I kind of just was a self motivator, if you will. I always talk to myself. I talk to myself a lot. It really helps me. It helps me get through the days where I don't think I'm gonna do well, or the days where things aren't going well and business is slow and no business is coming through the door. I kind of just talk myself up. Um,
Mhm.
that mindset of things will be fine. Things will always work. It always seems to work its way through.
It
It-
really does.
I haven't fortunately, I haven't had a major failure where I was rock bottom. I haven't had that yet. So maybe if that ever comes, then I'll figure out a different way of motivating myself. But for now, I've been pretty fortunate. And
Well,
go ahead.
the fact that I want to ask you where the self-talk start, like where do you think it came from? But the fact that you are already like, self-motivated and you
Mhm,
have that self-talk,
mhm.
you may not be a person that ever hits rock bottom because you already have that foundation,
Sure.
you know.
Y-
And usually we hit rock bottom when we're not listening to the universe, the God, to God, to ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, you were gonna ask where I got it from and when I started doing it. More in my adult years, 30s, later 20s. throughout my 30s. I'm almost 40. I'll be 40 this year, so can't say 40s yet. But I I would read. I do read, and I read. I'm reading a book now. It's not a motivational book or anything. It's more of an experience book. It's Obama's book about his experience being president,
Mhm.
and it's there's no really motivation in it. It's more of just learning from how he
Mhm.
got through, negotiating with other countries, or dealing with the bank bailouts, and dealing with the crises that he went through. And it wasn't a coaching book. It's not a coaching book by any means, but just how he writes the book and how he explains things is more of it gives me a way of how to look at things and how to deal with things.
So it definitely, I mean, it is a learning experience. Like it is
Yeah,
a
yeah, it's a
book,
learning experience for me, but I don't know how other people would take that type of book. Is what it wasn't billed as a self-help learning book.
right? But and that's how we learn. I had this conversation with someone yesterday, and they said, who are your role models? I mean, outside of course my mom and my dad. And I said, I really don't think I had any. I turned to the TV for the role models of what how I wanted to live and what I wanted to, be. Like it helped expand my mind. So sometimes the examples don't always have to come from, in our smallest circle. They can come from everywhere.
Yeah, and Obama, forget his politics, whatever they are, whatever they may be. I'm really intrigued and infatuated with how he operates, how he's wired, and I like what he's about. I like how where his upbringing and how he got to where he was. As far as politics, I don't care about that part too much. It's just about how he goes his day to day and how he became who he became.
Right. No, I hear you. It's fascinating, like how goes from being, a young boy in Hawaii to president of the United States.
Yeah, and being a man of color too, and
Yeah,
having cards stacked against him, and how he was able to beat all that and confront all that at the same time, and get to the highest position in the land.
exactly.
Just having to fight his way through.
Exactly. Which, again, comes back to, you like being a young boy and always having this drive. And I'm sure there was many challenges that you
Yeah,
faced
yeah,
to get here.
yeah.
And, other than the self-talk, which is huge in the community, what else you think helped you like overcome these challenges? Like what tool if it wasn't a tool, like what method did you use to kind of like, here's an obstacle, I'm getting through this.
I think I've always been a failure is not an option type of guy. I
Hmm.
wasn't gonna accept being second place. For me, second place is first loser. Uh, and I really use that a lot. And for me to not be second place, it pushes me and it drives me. I've always played sports and I've always been a competitive guy. So I think being a competitor really pushes me to do well, and not succumb or not concede to just being mediocre.
Yeah.
I don't want to be mediocre. I don't want to be the same. I don't want to be just like everybody else, who's average. I don't
And
want to be average.
like you just kept like I can relate to this because I compete against myself. And earlier you said, you know what, I'm competing against myself to be the
Yeah,
best version that I can be every
right,
day.
right. And that's where I'm at. And my wife is the same way, and she's actually taught me a lot of how to compete with myself and how to deal with competing with myself too.
Mhm. And that, again, that's what it's about. We all run our own race because there's enough abundance for us all to be successful. It's not about what he's doing or she's doing. It's about us. Like, how, what am I doing, better today? How can I be a little bit better today? How can I be a little bit better tomorrow?
Sure, sure. And I set goals for myself,
Mhm.
and if I reach those goals, great. And I have to, and if it's still time to do more in that goal, I'll push it even further.
Mhm.
And I don't stop at the goal. So for example, when I say goal, my goal this year is to close at least 12 deals,
Mhm.
12 transactions this year. I'm halfway through already of
Fantastic.
that this year. And if I get 12 and the year's not over, I'm going to shoot for 14 or 15.
Mhm.
So setting goals helps,
Mhm.
because if you don't have a goal, you have nothing to
Right.
fight for.
So it's a why. So it would be like, we have to have a why to have the motive to be inspired to even reach that goal?
Sure.
What would you say your why is?
Um, my why is that's a good question. Never really asked myself why. Why? Just to get more seasoned, really, to get more seasoned in the business, to have. Well, I guess I'm thinking about it now. My why is because I want more of a reputation. I want people to know who I am.
Mhm,
I want people to know that I deliver results,
mhm.
and that's why I want
And
to.
so when they know you as a person who's with great integrity, who delivers results, what does that mean to you?
Well, in the real estate world, I want them to know. So I created my own logo and my own team, and I want that team to build and become a large team where people know who we are. They know my team. They know my real estate group, and I want more agents to come and join that team so I can teach them what I was taught, and take them under my wing, and hopefully become as at hopefully when I get there as successful as I am, and if not more successful than me.
Yeah. And setting the example for your kids
Right.
and for, for others, who anyone else who might be, just stepping in, or, looking for a career, and just what a great example.
Yeah, and my son already was like, I want to do what you're doing. I want to be a real estate agent, and there's bigger and better jobs out there, and real estate agent is a great job, and don't get me wrong,
Great
but
career.
he's already seeing the work that it puts in, and the benefits and the success that when you put that hard work in, what it gives back.
Yes, yes, the fruits of your labor.
Yes.
So, I mean, you're always working so hard.
Yeah, trying
What's
to.
for fun?
Try fun. There's not a lot of fun right now.
But we got to
um,
have fun, because fun
yeah,
helps us be
I,
more,
I try to vacation as much as possible. We just got back from Puerto Rico last week,
oh, nice.
so that was cool. We try to take the kids out. My fun is I live vicariously through my kids with their fun.
I love that.
My son's really into baseball. He's on travel ball teams and tournament teams. So, and I played baseball my whole life. So, my fun is watching him play, coaching him, uh, getting him better. And my daughter Dunya, she's also in softball. She plays, and coaching her. Just I have a classic car that I'm restoring, so that I restore that and help where I can, and just simple things, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Vacation as much as possible.
Yes, experiences are amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have one last question for you. What's something that you can share with us that not everybody knows? Some interesting fact about Fadi.
About me, sheesh, I'm a lefty. Not everyone knows that. Um, man, I'm an open book. A lot of people know a lot about me. I'm very transparent. I don't have a lot of secrets about myself. You probably know more about me than anyone else does.
I mean,
Uh, there, I wish I had something cool to say. I really don't. I mean, I, I I speak Arabic fluently.
oh,
I
I didn't
know-
know that.
Yeah,
Good for
yeah.
you. I
There was
got
a
my Arabic's broken.
really. I was first language I was taught was Arabic. I
Beautiful,
learned English in school.
beautiful. That's a very interesting fact.
Yeah. Right.
Especially that a lot of us. I mean, I can speak Arabic and I can understand, but if someone's from outside, they're like, "Oh my God, you sound like it's so broken."
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
I can definitely get by in Egypt. I can get by in Iraq. I can get by where the dialects are different.
that's
I can
fantastic.
I can speak that language. My dad taught me it, and he still speaks to me in only Arabic.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So
So I know who to call now when I want to,
yeah,
get my Arabic better.
give me a call. I got
I
you.
will. I will. Oh my God, it's been amazing to have you on today. Just
It's a
I'm just
pleasure. Thanks for
really
having
proud
me.
of you. You've done great during, such a challenging time.
Yeah.
And if our audience wants to get a hold of you, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me at I'm on all social media, Facebook, just my name, Fadi Shamieh. My Instagram is fadi.s_sequoia. So that's Fadi Fadi.s_sequoia SEQUOIA. My cell phone number is all on there. You can direct message me if you want to reach me, if you want to talk real estate, if you're in the market, and yeah, that's it. I mean, social media, Facebook, Instagram, and DM me through those two avenues, and I reach out right away. And if you guys want my direct cell phone number, I can give it to you, or Grace can give it to you as well.
Perfect. And when the information will also be in the podcast notes below, so they'll be able to get to it.
Yes.
All right. It was awesome connecting with you today.
Nice. Thanks, Grace. Thanks for having me. It was great. Had a good time.
Oh, I had a great time. Thank
Sure.
you guys so much for being here with us today. And we look forward to seeing you again on the next episode of Real Talk. Until then, have a great day. Hey, love. Thank you so much for listening today. I am so grateful for you. I'd like to show you my appreciation by gifting you a free forgiveness self-hypnosis audio download. Part of living the fun and fabulous life is practicing forgiveness. Forgiveness can be such a long and challenging process. My intention is that this forgiveness audio will help you in practicing forgiveness, especially with yourself. Grab it by visiting daretoachieve.com/forgiveness. For more inspiring tips, make sure to connect with me on social media. Drop me a line on Facebook or Instagram at Grace Redman Dare to Achieve. Until next time, keep moving forward towards living your fabulous life.